The borders to India's capital have once again turned into a war zone. Delhi turned into a fortress even as farmers marched from Haryana, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh and other states. The Kisan are here again and they say they are here to stay. Their big demand: legalize MSP. Apart from 11 other demands, the farmers, this time under new leadership, have demanded that the minimum support price or MSP get constitutional backing. The price guarantee has been the bone of contention between protesting farmers and the Indian government. As Kisan and cops face off, tear gas and pellet guns roar, and water cannons and barriers barely hold on against the angry annadata. One big question arises: what's stopping the Modi government?
ये 23 फसलों के ऊपर MSP अनाउंस करते हैं। CACP की रिपोर्ट के अनुसार सारी कैलकुलेशन होती है पूरे देश से। तो जिन फसलों के ऊपर आप MSP दे रहे हैं, पहले से अनाउंस करते हैं, कुछ की खरीद करते हैं, बाकियों की खरीद नहीं करते। हम तो इतना ही कह रहे हैं ना, उसके ऊपर लीगल गारंटी दे दीजिए भी उस MSP से नीचे हमारी फसल ना बने।
अगर सिर्फ एक यही रास्ता है तो हम चांद तारे तोड़ के भी लाके दे देंगे उनको। लेकिन MSP पे कानून की बात कब कही गई है, कहाँ कही गई है, किसने कहा है? हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी ने कभी नहीं कहा।
Making it a legal obligation can create many complexities in the system. What will happen is that in commodities where supply exceeds demand, there is going to be a major problem even for the farmer.
The fact is, beyond politics, constitutional guarantees for MSP are a headache for any government, whether UPA, NDA, India or any other iteration of a coalition that leads Bharat. So is a constitutional MSP even possible? Can governments even afford what the farmers want? Well, former US President Jimmy Carter has a big lesson for anyone attempting to give price guarantees. In 1977, the Democrat leader of America came up with a plan to help milk producers. Carter announced that milk prices would go up to 6 cents per gallon every 6 months. However, to keep economic activity on track and sustain these rising prices, the Carter administration moved to increase the demand of milk. Simply put, if milk became an essential in US, like it has for billions in India, Americans would purchase the nutritious white gold even at comparatively higher prices. After all, you need milk for your everyday chai. So from 1977 to 1981, to help milk prices, the US government offered to buy all the cheese anyone wanted to sell at decided prices. This is, if not named so, one of the earlier examples of an MSP in modern history. So for 4 years, Carter's genius went unchecked. The US federal government continued to buy cheese. The American dairy farmers, smelling an opportunity, did exactly what Carter wanted. They just did it too well. Milk production shot up in the US, but so did cheese production. Soon American dairy farmers were producing cheese far exceeding demand. By 1981, the US government ran out of space to store all the cheese it had bought from the farmers and began putting it in caves. At the time, it was costing the taxpayer almost $2 billion a year just to keep supporting Carter's cheesiness. Adjusted for inflation, it would have cost the American taxpayer over $6.7 billion today. So out of space and short of billions of dollars, the Jimmy Carter administration handed over the looming disaster to Ronald Reagan. The Republican stopped the biannual milk price hike and had to pay off dairy farmers to cut back on milk production. The Carter-Reagan changeover is a prime example of what constitutional guarantee for MSP could mean for whichever administration that gives it and the one that follows. In India, MSP is extended only because of politics. If not, farmer communities will abandon their leaders. However, it was always supposed to be a temporary tool that would power the Green Revolution. In the 1960s, when India was importing even staples like rice and wheat, it was essential that the Kisan adopt high-yielding varieties of crops as soon as possible. The Lal Bahadur Shastri Sarkar set up Agriculture Price Commission in 1965, which came up with pre-decided prices at which the government would procure food grains. Remember, this was also barely a decade after Chaudhry Charan Singh's game-changing laws for farmers against zamindari and other archaic practices. At the time, the struggling Indian Kisan was in dire need of every support it could get. The numbers available would suggest the Indian farmer still needs all the help it can get. Agriculture supports the livelihoods of over 151 million Indians, or 60% of the population even today, and makes up for just 18% of the GDP. For an agrarian nation, the numbers are clearly dismal. With that being said, a constitutional guarantee for MSP may still not be the answer. Why? Well, economics just doesn't support it. If the centre does start buying more crops at MSP after a guarantee, it may just end up bankrupting the nation. As per some estimates, even in 2021, legally guaranteed price for marketed surplus would cost the exchequer around 5 lakh crores. And that's not a number to smirk at, considering Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman planned to spend just over 45 lakh crores in 2023-24 as per her interim budget. As of January 2024, the Indian government gives a minimum support price for 23 crops, including paddy, wheat and cotton. However, not only is this guarantee not given to all crops, it is also not extended for the entire produce. For starters, farmers are not obligated to sell at the MSP if they get better prices in the open market. The problem starts there. If the farmers were getting fair prices from private traders, Delhi's borders wouldn't have been besieged. The role of the price guarantee is price stabilization, meaning the government buys up the market surplus with the aim of setting a minimum price for the commodity. The problem with the tactic is that the procurement is so slow in itself in some states that the price modulation fails. For instance, over 80% of the marketed surplus of paddy was procured from Punjab and Haryana, while only a meager 11% was procured from India's largest rice producers, Bengal and Uttar Pradesh. Just the procurement of paddy and wheat is riddled with problems on every stage, whether it is purchasing, storing or reselling. If the centre were to decide to give MSP constitutional validity, it would simply mean that the price of that crop has been decided for everyone, whether public or private entities. Storage is the other huge issue. As per the Food Corporation of India website, the total storage capacity with the central agency and the state agencies combined was at 711 lakh metric tons as of April 2023. Reports suggest just in 2021, the total stock of rice, wheat, unmilled paddy and coarse grain stood at around 883 lakh tons. FCI has had a perpetual problem of storage, and increasing procurement only adds to it. Even if the grains are procured and stocked, what will the central government do with it? Suddenly, Sarkar will have to come up with some sort of centralized marketplace transporting and storing perishable produce while adjusting to state-specific demands and then reselling it at acceptable prices that can also sustain this Herculean operation. It may just be another case of Carter's cheese, but with a much bigger impact.